Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts and going over some data. So in this video, I am going to be going over a few Ethereum digital asset companies or DATs that stand out to me as being pretty interesting. I did get one request, and this is all based on this poll that I put out for the channel. If you are interested in following up on what I'm doing with crypto, I do put out Crypto Corner Sat Stacker every Saturday. Going to be doing that for the rest of 2025, but not too many people are that interested in it. I did get some interest in this, Ethereum DATs, using them for leverage. So that's what I'm going to be going over in this video. Also put out the Neo video yesterday, and I will be streaming tonight. So if you did want me to follow up on any of these companies that I maybe don't include in this, make sure to tune in tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, I'm really just going to be comparing a few of these with Ethereum and Ethereum's performance really since April lows, and compiling that data to kind of get an idea of if these are a good way to play Ethereum. And really just because, my focus has largely been on stacking Ethereum and Bitcoin, not really getting so crazy into stocks lately. But I thought this might be a nice way to kind of, include that in some stocks and ETFs that we can be looking at. And yeah, so here I am at this website, strategicethreserve.xyz. I just learned about them, but it does include a list of all of these DATs that do hold Ethereum on their balance sheets as treasury companies. And, the first one at the top of the list is Bitmine Immersion, and that is going to be led by Tom Lee. I think we're all probably familiar with that one. That's at the top of my list. It's at the top of the list here, really just because of Tom Lee. Seems like a really smart guy, seems to be, knowing what's going on, and, called a V-shaped recovery, all of that. I think he's a great spokesperson. So, I really like that one, and that is ticker symbol BMNR. And then the second one on the list is going to be SharpLink Gaming, SBET. And that was actually the first one that I was aware of. I got it in my comments, wasn't aware of what they were doing, but, I've since been following them. And that seems like it's also a very nice leverage play. And that is going to be led by, Joe Lubin, who was one of the co-founders of Ethereum. So I think there's a lot there. And then we have a number of other ones down here that I am not too familiar with. I did get a request to go over ETHZilla, which is ticker symbol ETHZ. So I will include that in this analysis, but these other ones I'm actually not going to be including. And this list here includes all, strategic Ethereum reserves, whether that's going to be, companies or specifically Ethereum reserves. We can also just go to the treasury companies that filters out like the Coinbase, the Ethereum Foundation, and stuff like that. We can also look at ETFs to get an idea of where money's been going. And this is all in ETH right here. We can see that there have been some outflows, but that could just be because of the long 3-day weekend. By the way, happy Labor Day. We can also adjust this to look at USD, so we can see the outflows from these Ethereum ETFs. Tens of millions of dollars over the past, really just on Friday, on the 29th. Was that Friday? But we did see a little bit of outflows on the 28th, but generally we have seen a lot of inflows with Ethereum, so I wouldn't really worry too much about that, or at least I'm not concerned about that. But anyways, let's start to look at some of the data and compare with Ethereum. And so, let's just first look over here at the Ethereum chart, and I'm just going to be doing some fairly basic comparisons to get an idea of the leverage exposure, whether that's to the upside or the downside, kind of get a sense of that risk. And so here I'm just going to take the measurement tool to measure Ethereum from the approximate bottom up to the approximate high. It's about a 250% move to the upside. So I'm just going to come over here to this table. And so from the low to the high, that's about a 250% move for Ethereum. But then if I go from that low to the current price, that represents about 210, let's say, round that down a little bit. So from the low to the current. But then if we go from the low to the 200 SMA, even if it does pull back a lot, that is going to be about, let's just round that up to 100%. So right there. But then here, let's think about the risk, the current to the 200 SMA. So that's going to be the downside. So from where we're currently at with Ethereum coming down to approximately that 200-day moving average, that's going to be about, let's see, I'm just going to round that up to 35% downside. So negative 35% there. And I might actually want to color that red just so we see it very clear that there is some risk there with that. And then so now let's do the exact same thing but looking at Bitmine, so ticker symbol BMNR. And so let's pull up the chart over here. And so we can see a lot of upside on this one, but it has pulled back a lot. And we can also do some analysis to see where it might be finding some support. But, this is going to have a little bit different timetable than Ethereum. So the lows over here, that's what I'm going to be measuring from. That's the end of June. And so if we take that up to the highs here, I'm just going to extend this out so we got a little bit better of a lineup there. That's over 3,000% to the upside, so about 3,200. I'm going to round down a little bit, so 3,200%. So very, very nice there. And then if we go from that low to the current price, that's still up quite a lot. That's about 800%. So much better than, just holding Ethereum. And then now, so the low to the 200-day simple moving average, it's not going to be as great, but still up quite a lot, about 250%. But now, here's where the risk comes in. What is this relative? What's the risk going down to the 200-day moving average? So from current price, that is going to be about a 60% drop to the downside. So that is about twice as risky as what we would get with Ethereum. So maybe this is not really the best idea to be getting the leverage, at least not while we could be seeing Rectember prices coming down before October. So good to be cautious of that. And then now let's move on to the next one on the list, which is going to be SBET, the number 2 as far as the strategic ETH reserves goes, but still, a pretty big one. And so here we can see that from the lows, approximately, going up to those highs, that was about a 4,600% move to the upside, so 4,600% move there. Very nice, but I suspect that the risk to the downside will also be larger. And then if we do that to the current price, that represents about a 580% move. So we've seen a lot of that pullback, so maybe that one's less risk now, considering that we've seen a good amount of that pullback. And if we go from the low to the 200-day SMA, that is going to represent about a 360% move to the upside. And now let's see that risk might actually not be so bad. So we'll have to kind of consider that. From where it's at now to that moving average, it's about a 34, let's see. Yeah, I'll round, let's see. I'll just do 33%, negative 33%. So that actually does look better than Ethereum. So maybe that risk to reward is a little bit better with something like SBET. Although Joe Lubin is not as good of a spokesperson, in my view, as Tom Lee. I think Tom Lee's great, charismatic, could be witty. So I think that's very nice. Joe Lubin, I think he's more like along the lines of Vitalik. Can be a good spokesperson, but also very awkward and whatnot. And so now let's move on to the next one on the list, which is going to be ETHZilla, which is from the request, and I would say a little bit more speculative, so perhaps more risky. And so here, come into this, we can see actually, the lows going back to, this is July, so comparing that with like Bitmine over here, this was the end of June. And so ETHZilla, if we just go from over here, this is the middle of July. So I'm just going to take the measurement from there, even though it's not going to be the exact same as the other ones or not as similar. But yeah, just approximately July 17th going up to the high. That's going to represent 1900% move to the upside. So it's actually not as good as what we've seen with the other ones. And, maybe there's a justification for that. And maybe I actually want to, talk about that. So if, middle of July, that would be from over here. Yeah, so maybe I want to do this more from the same point. So from that same point here, that's 69%. So yeah, I'm actually for ETHZilla. I'm not going to take it from the low here. I will do from the end of June, just being, approximately right over here. And so let's see, the 27th. And so from there, that is going to represent 2,200% to the upside. So I think that's a little bit more fair of a comparison. So in this sense, these two are better than this one, but ETHZilla wasn't really like active or really doing too much back then. And then if we pull that back to current price, that's going to represent about a 270% move to the upside. And then going from the low to the 200-day moving average, that's about 140%. Although from where we're currently at, that would represent a move to the downside. So let's look at that. And this might actually be a better way to think about it because they have all been retracing. And so coming back to that 200-day moving average, that's going to be about a 33% downside move. So yeah, what are my thoughts with this? I feel like, if you're a long-term bull on Ethereum, I think the way to go is by stacking Ethereum itself. But if you do want a little bit of some leveraged exposure, I think that any of these would be good. But, for me personally, I think that this is just like moving up the risk curve when coming down this list. Holding Ethereum, you can be your own custodian, hold that on a wallet. I think that's really, kind of the safest bet. Tom Lee, I think he's got a really good vision on this. I had talked about Ethereum going to 8,000 by the end of the year, but actually adjusting that to look on the log scale, I could see it getting to the 10 to 20,000 by the end of this year, maybe early 2026, and that really corresponds pretty nicely with Tom Lee's analysis. And, getting, a move like that in Ethereum from current price. Let's see, just pulling up the chart here. Let's see, I'm just gonna, let's say 10,000. So that would be, from where we're currently at, that would represent, about 130, 140% move to the upside. Considering that, maybe we could be seeing, thousands of percent moves for any of these treasury companies. The one that actually has the most downside risk, though, is going to be Bitmine if it were to return to the 200-day moving average. So I could actually see at this point where we're currently at, SBET or ETHZilla as being less risky, although as far as fundamentals go, I feel like, SBET is going to be a little bit safer. So I'm actually going to say that is one, I'm going to just highlight it like this, or actually maybe I'll do it a little bit darker right there. That's the one that I would say I'm most intrigued by. I do hold the most ETH. I do hold a little bit of Bitmine. I hold a little bit more of SBET, and I personally don't hold any of ETHZilla. I don't plan on going any lower than SBET on this list. But that's just me and how I am, developing my thesis over the year, which is really just based around Ethereum. And this is just to try to get a little bit more exposure while also trying to manage the risk. But yeah, I mean, if there are other ones on here that you'd like me to go over, like the Ether Machine, Bit Digital, or any of these ones down here, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I mean, this is really just an interesting thing for me to be exploring and just expanding my perspective from Ethereum to also include some of these treasury companies. But yeah, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and have a great rest of your Labor Day weekend. Take care, you guys.